my 32-year-old brother was diagnosed with stage 4 non-small cell carcinoma, and that changed my life forever.
The people who we're not hearing from are so opposed to being
Yeah,
seen as egotistical that they actually inhibit themselves so much that they forget to share their
right.
irreplaceable gifts of their
Mhm.
experience.
I can't give everybody their own family member physician, but I can help as many doctors as possible give their information on demand at scale.
You're listening to Solving for Joy. I'm your host, Dr. Chrissy Ott, a multi-boarded integrative physician and professional certified life and career coach. This podcast is about joy, what it means, how we find it, and the creative ways people are solving for it in their own lives. I'm so glad you're here. Today, I'm joined by Bret Gregory. He is the visionary behind DrTalks and is committed to amplifying doctors' voices at scale. In particular, the mission of DrTalks is to help 1 billion people suffering with chronic illness to access information directly from doctors while simultaneously democratizing the platform where doctors get heard and paid for their expertise. Bret, thank you so much for being here with me today.
So lovely to be here. Thank you so much for having me. It's a real pleasure and an honor.
Absolutely. So I had the pleasure of meeting Bret last month, and we had this sort of mind meld where what Bret's been doing since 2020 is something that separately sort of arose an impulse in my mind a few years ago in the form of a doc and the fam, but Bret's actually already been doing it and run with it. And what he's built is so important. But I also really want to invite people into the origin story, the story behind it, how this beautiful creation in the world actually came to be. And as you listen, please notice what resonates for you. Think what experiences have shaped the way you show up in your life and work and the way you care for others. What is your own personal corollary to this as we get to hear from Bret what it's been like for him?
Well, thank you so much. Yeah, it's really amazing. So I had quite a journey. So from 1996 to 2006, I had an employee benefits agency. We focused a lot on corporate wellness programs and spent a lot of time trying to help improve the health and wellness of others. And then sadly, in 2006, my 32-year-old brother was diagnosed with stage 4 non small cell carcinoma, and he was given 9 months to live. And almost exactly 9 months later, he passed away peacefully in our father's arms. And that event just changed my life forever. I was a suit and tie guy, and I tore off my suit and tie. I sold my business I had a couple $1 million. I moved to Costa Rica and I bought this $3 million property with $2 million down, with the goal of helping people change their lifestyle habits so that anybody who wanted to could heal from within to the best of their body's abilities so that no one would have to go through what my family went through watching a loved one suffer like that. And I'm not a doctor. I don't have any formal medical training at all. I just knew when I had been traveling to Costa Rica. I'm a surfer, and so I love going to Costa Rica, and I was going there maybe 6 or 7 years in a row. And I noticed every time I went, I felt healthier.
Mm.
I always lost a little bit of weight. I ate better. I slept better. I exercised more. I was in nature. I was with my friends, with the community, and I always felt healthier. And I thought, well, geez, it's so difficult to help people get out of their change their habits from where they normally are and live in our typical daily grind. If I could build a community, a place where people could unplug, whether it's for a week or a month or longer, that would be what I could do to help others as much as possible. So 2006 was a terrific time to sell my business, and then going down to Costa Rica in 2007, buying this speculative real estate development property in 2008 was horrible timing, right before the global financial crisis. I was living in Costa Rica and I had exactly 12 months to come up with $1 million. That was the final payment to complete the closing of the property. And global financial crisis hit. And there were no banks, no lenders, nobody available to help save the deal. And I was really worried that I was going to go bankrupt. And then something interesting happened. Facebook hit 200 million users. So remember 2008, 2009 kind of time frame. And I said to myself, my goodness, there's so many people on Facebook. There's got to be some buyers or investors in on Facebook that would want to come in on this deal with me here in Costa Rica and have the same vision. And so I very quickly learned online marketing and I grew a small email list of 2,500 people. I called all of them. I got 20 people to book a flight from Europe, Canada, the United States. And we ended up making 7 sales. People were buying 5-acre lots from us. So we made 7 sales and we raised 1.4 million in under 12 months and we saved the property and we saved the business.
Wow.
Now,
Wow.
yeah, it was I don't recommend that. It was very
That's the
stressful.
roller coaster version of
Yes.
how to do wellness business in Costa Rica for sure.
Yes, and the interesting thing is of those 7 buyers, 6 of them were doctors who ended up
Mhm.
investing in they bought land in the project. And we didn't raise enough money. I needed 30 million to develop the whole wellness community, and that wasn't gonna happen, so we put the project on hold, came back to San Diego, and then I started a agency. So a lot of people were asking me, "Hey, how did you do $1 million in sales to customers you met on Facebook?" And so I started teaching people how to do that. I started creating courses, and I kept attracting doctors. I think because it was a wellness community that doctors were really interested in that. That morphed into a agency called Attract Customers Now, and for 10 years I had a marketing agency for doctors. And what I discovered was that the very best marketing for doctors turned out to be producing virtual summits. And then we would produce podcasts for doctors. And
Mhm.
those 2 were the best, highest ROI marketing activities, but the problem was they were hard and they took a long time. The summits were very financially risky, but I said, "Maybe I could just make an entire business out of this because we know how to do it so that it works." And then in March of 2020, DrTalks was born. Started out as Doctor Summits and then became DrTalks. And little did I know that the pandemic happened to start at the exact same time, and that ended up providing a large tailwind for us, and it
Yeah.
propelled our virtual business, helping doctors get patients online. It
Yep.
propelled that business
Amazing.
significantly. So we were very fortunate in that. And now we're the world's streaming platform for integrative and functional medicine doctors who want to help people. So we created this platform to amplify our doctors' voices. And as you said at the beginning, we're democratizing the creator economy for doctors. It's time for doctors to get paid for your information. And the other side of that benefit is we get to help a lot of people in the meantime. So
Oh,
that's
so
the mission
good.
of Doctor Talks.
Thank you for that whirlwind tour. That was an amazing encapsulation of many, many huge life events, Brett.
Yes.
I'm gonna go all the way back and just,
Hmm.
like, drop in and send your brother some love. What is your brother's
Thank
name?
you, Eric.
Eric. Eric,
Mm,
love, thank you for being and thank you for inspiring this, and thank you for the legacy that this
Yeah.
brings. I know from
mm,
our previous conversation that a big part of this experience was that your dad is a physician and
Yes.
you were really impacted by how essential it was to have a doctor in the
mhm,
family. I would love for you to
mhm.
take us back to, I mean, not to dwell in painful moments, but tell us what did it mean to have access to a medical professional at these critical times?
My father's a doctor. My mom was a nurse and she actually did palliative care. So during my brother's last 9 months of his life, he literally could not have had better care.
Yeah.
And had people who not only knew what to do but loved him dearly and were able to help him in so many ways. And being there for him really made me realize what a privilege it is to have a doctor in the family and have a mom who did palliative care, and what it would have been like had we not had that, or somebody who would really struggle with finding the right information. And, what I realized is I can't give everybody their own family member physician, but the next best thing that I can do is I can help as many doctors as possible, give their information to as many people as possible on demand
Mhm.
at scale. we're taking that one level higher now with AI. We've developed DrTalks.ai. So what it does is it reads all the transcripts of all the videos that the doctors have produced on Doctor Talks and then allows people to ask questions of the doctor's information. And it does exactly the opposite of what Google's Health AI, Amazon's AI, it's not competing with doctors, it's amplifying their voices. So it doesn't make up
Yeah.
any other information. If you ask it a question that is outside of that, it just says we don't have information on that particular topic. When we've actually shown this AI tool to the doctors have all said, wow, this is amazing. I want it on my website. So we
Yeah.
created DrTalks.ai to be able to go on the websites for that. And, again, it's hopefully helping lots of people, helping the doctors amplify their voices and also create some monetary benefit.
I can't help but notice that underneath all of this, especially after Eric's death, that you had a really deep helping impulse. I would even say a healing impulse. You
Hmm.
may not identify as a healer, but you're living an example of how any skill set can be applied to
Yeah.
facilitating health and healing.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, I felt it was my duty as part of Eric's legacy to help as many people as possible. So interestingly, he had just gotten his PhD in molecular biology. He was doing cancer research at the Burnham Institute in La Jolla, California. So he
Wow.
actually succumbed to the very thing that he was trying to defeat and battle
How
against.
poignant. Mm,
Yeah, and so I felt like I had to, and it was very cathartic and fulfilling and meaningful and really allowed me to live my best life. I mean, living in Costa Rica was amazing and striving to help as many people as possible and continuing to do that now. It
yeah.
was such a shift, such a hard turn from the path that I was on, still helping people, but it was a totally different. And so
Yeah.
this really feels a lot closer to the help and the source than what I was doing before.
And, we spoke a little bit about this right before we hit record, but a clarification of purpose,
Mm,
which for me is an essential component of how I understand joy, and that solving
mhm.
for joy really most of the time includes clarification of purpose. So I'd love
Yeah.
to hear a little bit about, your take on how you find joy in this work.
Oh, yeah. The thing that makes me happiest is when, we help a doctor, help more people, and they get compensated for it. So recently, one of my dear friends, Dr. Heather Sandison, we produce her podcast, and she hosted some of our Alzheimer's summits. So she's studied under Dr. Dale Bredesen, and they've worked very hard on helping people prevent and slow down, and in some cases, even reverse cognitive decline. And we produced 4 summits 4 years in a row. During that time, we helped grow a 160,000 person email list for Dr. Sandison. She was able to write a book on Alzheimer's and she launched it to her email list and it became a New York Times bestseller.
Wow.
And that felt good. Now, I don't take credit for the book, I don't take credit for her work, but I did build the list.
Yeah.
And it
Yeah.
felt really, really good. And the stories that she has of who she's helped are just amazing. And, giving people their life back, giving people their spouse back.
Mm,
And, like that to me is everything. And I get so much fulfillment and joy out of that. And that's again where I felt like, what's my biggest leverage that I can help in the world? And it was helping doctors. And I'm good at marketing and sales. So I'm
yeah.
figured out how to help doctors do marketing and sales. And we've created this network and systems and tools that all can amplify the voices. And that's really what moves
Yeah.
me, motivates me, and
And it's It is so needed, Brett. I mean, I don't have to tell you you're the expert in this, but we don't come out of medical school or residency knowing anything about how to market ourselves. I think we're in a
Right.
new era with this generation who are facile with the selfie camera and making reels, right? We're in a new era, so they may have a great advantage over the Generation X that I'm part of.
Well,
But
I wanna I can I pull that thread for 1 second? I think
absolutely,
that it's not so much about skill, it's more about, inhibition,
comfort. Hmm.
a lack of self-consciousness to say, "Oh, sure, let's pull out the phone and make a video," because it is that easy.
Yeah.
And,
Yes. Yes. Yes.
that's
Yes.
what one of the things that I do. I think the question that I answer the most when I'm coaching doctors and telling doctors, "Hey, you gotta put yourself out there." Step 1 is, "Let's get you on a podcast. Let's get you to be interviewed on a
Yeah.
podcast." And the question I hear most is, "Why would anyone want to listen to me? Isn't that information already out there?" And I have to tell doctors, "You are so valuable." And I go back to, again, what a privilege it was to be related to a doctor. You're so valuable. And from where I stand, everybody wants to hear you, and they want to hear you
Mhm.
a lot, not just a
Mhm.
little. You have so much value to share and to give to the world.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
I just have found that the easiest way to do that is to go on a podcast. And particularly, sometimes it gets even easier when it's a doctor to doctor interview.
Yeah.
And
Then we can
so,
really nerd out on things.
yeah, and the audience loves that. Like, we
Mhm.
want to hear you nerd out on that kind of stuff. It's about our health, and so the value to me is obvious, but sometimes I have to repeat that a few times to
Yes. Yes.
encourage the doctors. So sorry, I pulled on that
I'm
thread while
so
you were
glad that you pulled on that
talking.
thread. Here's an edge that I think is alive for me sometimes, and I imagine a lot of people who are in the same position. I know that I have deep expertise, and I know that if I were in a typical clinic job, I don't have time to go deep into expertise in
Right,
my 8 minutes with my patient. So they're actually getting
right.
more access to their physician's knowledge in some ways if they're accessing virtual talks outside of
Yes.
that time. But also, I want to reflect on that inhibition of like, I have a gift to give, but I also don't want to seem graspy or thirsty or like egotistical. There are many personalities in medicine, right? Some have no problem being quite egotistical. But
Yeah,
many people, the people who we're not hearing from, are so opposed to being
yeah,
seen as know it all egotistical that they actually inhibit themselves so much that they forget to share their
right.
irreplaceable gifts of their
Mhm.
experience. I can speak about the long term care of medically complex children. I don't do it because I just don't. Like, who am I to speak to that? Well, I am the
Mhm.
person who's been doing that for 10 years.
Right.
Or who am I to speak about pediatric obesity? Oh, I have a degree in nutrition and I'm board certified in obesity and I have a personal experience with this. Like, we
Mhm.
forget how our dimensions, our multifacetedness actually
Yeah.
serves us in those same arenas, right? Do you see that what I'm saying about
Oh,
the fearful of
a
being the ego?
all the time. I mean, the doctors want to be an influencer without being an influencer, right? I see
Mhm,
that all the time, and
mhm,
it makes perfect sense. I mean, that's part of what makes you a good doctor in the first place, is that personality of just wanting to serve first. We try to reframe that and make it as easy as possible. And again, that's where I find, like, I think the easiest way that I've discovered to do that is having your colleague interview you.
mhm.
And it seems to let the guard down and also let you realize, like, oh, yeah, this is valuable information. And it's actually pretty easy to be interviewed by a colleague, and you can then get your information out in this long, deep format that you're saying. And I totally agree with you that you don't have time to go deep when you're seeing one on one. And this is a great opportunity to go deep, and the patients love it. The audience loves it. They love you and they need you. And I found originally when I was telling doctors to say, okay, let's create a signature talk. And what usually happened is doctors would think, okay, wait, I got to do a 45-minute PowerPoint presentation. This is going to take 6 months just to create. And then I said, well, let's try this differently. Just give me the title, And then let's turn that in. Let's get some questions and then let's have somebody interview you. And that same doctor with that same topic would be ready in 5 minutes.
Yes.
And then it just works. And so that's, when I created Dr. Talks, I would have everybody create your expert profile, put your talk title and the questions that you're ready to answer at any time on your profile. And then you can connect directly and instantly with other doctors who already host podcasts and have their channels. And so that just makes it
Mhm.
really easy. It just lowers that perceived barrier tremendously. And so I would just encourage doctors to give it a try. And we've done everything we can to make it as easy as possible.
I love that. What questions are you ready to answer at any time? And
Yes,
another version of that is what questions are you already answering every week with your
absolutely.
patients and friends and family members?
What questions are you answering every week? And the nice thing is, when you can do those answers in an interview, if you get interviewed, you can put that interview on your website and then you don't have to answer the same question over and over again. So, what we find,
Yes.
and that's what we did with the AI, and we found that patients are now they're getting their questions answered because the AI can search the transcripts and it can play the videos right at the right spot or answer it in writing. And so when the patients come in, they're actually better educated because they've already asked those questions that you've been asked a million times and you don't necessarily want to answer another million. And this allows
Mhm.
you to kind of get right to the issue with a very educated, motivated patient.
It reminds me, I think we talked about this briefly on our meet and greet about a month ago.
Yeah.
I Years ago I decided, okay, I do the same newborn anticipatory guidance when I see a family in the
Mm,
newborn birth center. Every single time we're going to talk about feeding, we're going to talk about peas and poops, we're going to talk about sleeping safely and follow up and fevers and all the things. So I made a video on YouTube and linked it with a QR code. And so now I walk in the door and I offer the family a QR code so that they take the information to go because nobody's actually ready to absorb information when they've just
right.
gotten a scary diagnosis or delivered a baby or had surgery
Right.
or whatever. Just like they're a blur. So they need to be able to
Right.
take information or find that information on the go. And Dr. Talks is such an exquisite place for that. So I'm excited
Oh.
to explore it further and amplify access to it. I think it's such an example of discovering yourself. I wanna tell
Mhm.
people who have been waiting all their lives into their 50s to finally be discovered for their value, no one's coming to discover you, my beloved friends. You
Right.
have to discover yourself. That does not mean that you need to become an egomaniac and say that you know best or put yourself in an inappropriate position like the Secretary of Health and Human Services did. But
Right there with you. Yep.
what? Did I say that? Yes, I did.
Yeah,
Um,
I heard
but
it
you
and it's
do have
yes.
right, you do have your gifts, and you can just
Yes.
decide, "I'm discovered,
Yes.
and I'm going to release my information to the world in service and see what
Yeah.
happens from there." And here's a platform where that can happen. It's actually set up for you to walk into it already.
Yes. Amazing. Yeah, that's really what we were going for. That's the idea. And you were brilliant. You were thinking just right when you created that video to answer all those questions. And that's exactly what you should be doing. I liked how you framed the questions that, if you want to be asked on the podcast, are what are the questions you're getting all the time?
Mm,
And, my other favorite activity is to ask doctors to use your favorite AI chat tool, Claude, ChatGPT, whatever you prefer. And here's the prompt. Type in, help me come up with a catchy podcast title on, and then you fill in the blank. What is your area of expertise? What is the problem that you solve most for your patients? And it'll come up with some amazing titles that are catchy. They're written with a little bit of a marketing flair, and choose the
yeah,
ones that resonate with you best for your podcast titles. And then you can take the one that you like best and say, help me come up with 10 or 15 questions on this topic. And again, go and sort through them. But that whole exercise takes about 5 minutes. And now you've got a title with questions that you can pass along to your host, whoever is going to be interviewing you, whether
yeah,
that's someone on an existing podcast or a colleague in your office. And then you
yeah.
can start to create this content that you could start just by posting it on your website so you don't have to answer the same question over and over again, but it works exceedingly well.
That does work really well. Love that prompt and that idea. What do you tell people, Brett, who have so many different topics they could speak to? just make a list and go after them one at a time?
Yeah, start with one. Rome wasn't built in a day. I recommend, I mean, if you own your own practice, start with the ones that make you the most money.
Mhm.
And here's why, because the more revenue you generate, the more people you can help.
It's not about greed, it's about efficacy.
Exactly. Oprah can help more people because she made $1 billion. So
Mhm.
that's okay. You can use it for good. And then also think about who are the patients that you love and that you just, if you could replicate this patient and just have dozens of these particular types of patients, you just love to serve them. You love to help them with that particular issue. You're exceedingly
Yeah.
good at it because that will help you if you have, start out with one signature talk and then make one more. And again, it's a talk title that you can generate with your favorite AI tool with 10 questions, but start with one and call it your signature talk. I like to call it that, but it's really an interview. You're going to be asked questions. And the more you do it, the more practiced you'll get at it. And the other thing that I get that is unexpected, and it happens almost every single time, is after the first few interviews, they come back and say, "That's so much fun." And
Joy!
they joy, they didn't think about that or expect it, but there's so much joy that comes out of it because they're talking about something that they already love and they're helping people, as a result. And so that's, one of those unexpected things. The last unexpected thing that I find is if you're a guest on more, multiple podcasts or you're a host, is I call it super networking. You end up meeting all these amazing, interesting, fascinating, wonderful people.
Yes.
You create these friendships. One thing I
Yes.
didn't mention is when I had my first business from 1996 to 2006, I hosted a live talk radio show
Oh,
and
yeah.
I interviewed CEOs of publicly traded companies in San Diego, and it
So
was
you were the
the best.
originally Diary of a CEO? Is that what
I
I'm
was the
hearing?
OG. Yes, yes. And it was so fun. It was so amazing, but it was amazing for networking. So I
Yes.
had the, cell phone numbers of half of the CEOs of publicly traded companies in San Diego because I interviewed them on my radio show. And we built this
Wow.
relationship in a 25, 30-minute interview.
Brilliant.
So I call it super networking. And it's
I can
this
attest to that.
you can, as the
Mhm.
host. I mean, think about all the
Absolutely.
people now that you've had the
Yeah.
pleasure of
Yeah.
getting to know, because how do you get to know somebody faster than interviewing them?
My life is changed and other people's lives are changed because this podcast exists and because of relationships made through this podcast. So
That's
I
a quote
can
right there.
absolutely. I don't say that with any ego, it's just true, and I'm so grateful for the wacky impulse and the, like, chutzpah to follow it. That's like, "I think I
Yeah.
wanna start a podcast, and I think it's about
Yeah.
joy."
Yeah.
Huh. Here we go. Yeah.
Yeah. It's amazing. I'm so proud of you.
Oh,
It's awesome.
thank you.
I
I
am.
receive
It's
that
great.
gladly.
That warms my heart.
Ugh, well, what a wonderful conversation, Brett. I hope that
Yeah.
we get to have a part 2 sometime because I think that, yeah, even more exploration
I would
is
love that.
really due this topic. I
I would
love
love
what you're
that.
doing. I'm so grateful that we got connected through LinkedIn. I mean,
Yes.
LinkedIn, because of LinkedIn, I have met so many of these people doing amazing
Yeah.
things.
Well,
So
and that's the last thing that we're doing with Doctor Talks is allowing doctors, the experts, to connect directly with one another, just like you can on LinkedIn. So Doctor Talks is sort of like this hybrid between YouTube and LinkedIn for doctors. That's the idea.
So good. In our last moment, what would you say to a physician listening today thinking, "Huh, what is it that I have to offer and how can I just take a tiny step toward this as a future reality?"
Yeah. Well, again, having seen and witnessed what a privilege it was to have a doctor in the family, I can just assure you the knowledge that you have inside you is so valuable and so many people want it. People need it. They want to hear you and what you have to say. And then the how to is the slightly shameless plug, but hopefully it'll be valuable. is all you have to do. We made it really easy for you to create your own expert profile for free. You go to drtalks.com/connect, and you can create your free profile, and you can start getting connected and be a guest for free on other doctors' podcasts. And hopefully I made it as easy as I possibly could. And we'd love to have you come join us and see you on the inside.
Thank you so much, Brett. And friends, if something from this conversation is staying with you today, you're curious to learn more, please find all of the links in the show notes. We'll be back next week with another conversation about solving for joy. Be well. I'll see you then.